So, after a while of watching modern WWE pissing me off constantly over and over and over and over and over and over and over, I decided, you know what? I'm going to go back to a classic stuff. Go back to the old days when wrestling was not insulting my intelligence on a consistent basis. Where, while there were some questionable stuff and some things that made people downright uncomfortable, there at least was more entertainment and more hype and excitement with fans than there was, oh my god, well, I'm embarrassed to be a wrestling fan. So, I'm going to go back and talk about Backlash 2001, the two-man power trip versus the Brothers of Destruction in a winner-take-all match for the WWF World Championship, the WWF Intercontinental Championship, and the WWF World Tag Team Championships. Now, Triple H and Austin, I've covered them and their what planned alliance they were going to do, and I even covered their last match together, which was originally going to have, that was supposed to go differently, like, say, Austin Triple H, had Triple H not gotten hurt, was supposed to lead to a dissension and whatnot, and have a match between the two at SummerSlam, and then Triple H got hurt, and all that plan was scrapped. It was supposed to tie into the Invasion storyline, but, yeah, the backstory for this match in particular was the fact that after WrestleMania 7, where Stone Cold Steve Austin won the match via Vince McMahon's help, leading to this shocking moment, they go ahead the next night Raw between The Rock and Stone Cold to take place in a steel cage match. And initially, before that match, Triple H was asking why Vince helped Stone Cold, and Vince just arrogantly said, Stone Cold was a winner at WrestleMania, you weren't. Damn. And sure enough, Triple H came out, and a lot of people were thinking that this was going to lead to Triple H turning face because of the history between Austin and Triple H. And sure enough, Triple H struck The Rock, and the two-man power trip would form from that. And they beat down everybody. They were known as the McMahon Alliance, but then they began referring to themselves as the two-man power trip, or the power trip for short. And then, after SmackDown, following that match, following the WrestleMania After Raw event, Austin attacked Jim Ross after Ross criticized his alliance with Triple H and McMahon. And then Triple H would then defeat Chris Jericho to win the IC title for the third time in the main event, bringing both of the major single titles to the company and in the company of the new alliance. And yeah, basically they said, well, fuck the European title, fuck the hardcore title, fuck the light heavyweight title. Well, frankly, we're too big for the light heavyweight title, but still. But then as that was going on, we got this vicious beatdown with the Hardys going on. And I'm just like wondering, like, oh god, that really generated some heat for Austin and Triple H. Seeing them beat down Lita and the Hardy Boys in grotesque fashion, and it was just, I tend to watch that match from time to time, but yeah, I also kept thinking, like, are they going to build up to a pay-per-view match between the group? But it never happened. In fact, I think Matt or Jeff said in an interview when they were talking about the two-man power trip stuff that they wished that match had happened, because that would have been huge for their careers, and it would have been because you're facing the top guy in WWF, and you're facing the biggest heel they have in WWF. You beat them, and you basically made your name for yourselves outside of taking serious dives that ultimately would result in spinal fusion with hip bone. Yeah, that happened to Matt just recently. So yeah, shortly after all that beatdown and whatnot, the Brothers of Destruction came out to help the Hardy Boys and rescue them from the perilous attack of Austin and then Triple H, because before that, Triple H and Jeff Hardy were trading the Intercontinental Championship back and forth for some reason. I don't get it. And then it was decided they're going to have a match at Backlash. But then Undertaker and Kane were given a title shot at the reigning WWF Tag Team Champions, Edge and Christian, who I must stress were coming off hot from their epic TLC match from WrestleMania 17. And they would lose on SmackDown in Nashville, Tennessee. The brothers won the match, but they were attacked by the two-man power trip with both sides now holding control of all the major titles. Austin and Triple H would believe that, oh, well, we're going to be facing Undertaker and Kane for their titles at the pay-per-view. However, they tie in another storyline that was going on with Vince. You see, Vince and Linda McMahon were having marital issues in a storyline, and Vince did some horrible things to Trish Stratus, but I'm not going to go into that. Let's just say Trish Stratus got revenge for all the abuse to an extent that Vince did to her. Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, anyways, because of this complicated issue, Linda could veto any of Vince McMahon's ideas and were demanding a divorce from one another. And with her power to veto her husband's decisions and force a compromising deals, McMahon had to inform Austin and Triple H that not only that in addition to having faced Undertaker and Kane, the titles would have to be up for grabs. They assumed that it was just the tag team titles. However, Vince had to reiterate, it's not just the tag team titles that are up for grabs, guys. And the system was that if Austin was pinned by the Undertaker, Undertaker would become world champion, while WWF Intercontinental title would go to Kane, or vice versa, or the exact opposite if Taker pinned Triple H. So, yeah, I also did think that was going to lead to some tension with Taker and Kane, because why would Kane settle for the second major title? Wouldn't he want to go after the WWF title? But no, that never happened. But, yeah, so, yeah, that was the build-up for that event, and yeah, while some people don't like this match, I thoroughly enjoyed it, probably because of my nostalgia, but also because I actually because the mindset back then for a lot of fans and that company was, we will tell great stories, but the matches would be at either best, great, or decent. I think that was the mentality that fans would prefer a great story than prefer a great match that had no story or a story that made no sense, which is why storylines nowadays have not that big momentum, that impact you feel. Like, the last time I actually felt somewhat invested in a story was Bray Wyatt and Roman Reigns' feud, because at least they implied that Bray Wyatt was going to be hunting down Roman Reigns' daughter, and also Samoa Joe and AJ Styles, but let's be honest, Samoa Joe kept losing every single match, so what was the point in caring about that? But yeah, so this would be a 27-minute match. In fact, a lot of people actually criticized the time of that match. A lot of people kept thinking it should have been like 15 minutes and whatnot. Like, if I'm going to get a good match and it's going to be a long match, fine, I'll go for it. So, yeah, and there are plot holes in this match. There's some plot holes, like Earl Hebner, the greatest referee to ever happen to wrestling. He shoves Stephanie McMahon when she tries to get involved, and Triple H never does notice, but does nothing about it. And considering Earl Hebner and Triple H's history throughout 2000 at least, yeah, that's kind of amazing. Like, really amazing. And there were some inconsistent tag team moments where Austin would come into the ring, but Earl Hebner didn't force him out, and yada yada yada. Like, the refereeing got ridiculous in the match, and there was even some overbooked moments. Like, you have the two-man power trip, you have Vince McMahon, you have Stephanie McMahon. That's just waiting for combustible elements to happen. But yeah, the idea of this match was actually pretty good. Like, I don't recall the last time we saw a winner-take-all match for all the world major titles in WWF or WWE even. Like, I wish they did some more with that, like add more stakes. Like imagine if the New Day went ahead to challenge the United States champion and the WWE champion on a big pay-per-view event. Like, please know, this was Backlash. You would expect this kind of match nowadays to happen on, say, SummerSlam or Survivor Series, a winner-take-all match for all the titles that they have. That would clearly be, if it's not going to be at WrestleMania, it was going to be on the other big shows. Not a B-level pay-per-view, because back then, everyone treated B-level pay-per-views like they were big matches, put big matches on B-level pay-per-views, and made them just as big as, like, say, sometimes SummerSlam and whatnot. But, yeah, nowadays, they don't treat the B-levels or the C-level pay-per-views seriously. In fact, TakeOver tends to do more with all their events. Yeah. So, yeah, this match gets really chaotic. Like, Kane going ahead with this damaged arm he got before the show, where Triple H and Austin try to take him out. But, yeah. So, yeah, also before the match, after Shane McMahon's match with Big Show and an awesome Last Man Standing match, the reason why I say it's awesome because of what Shane McMahon did in that match at Backlash. You don't see that anymore. Is because Triple H and Vince were talking, Stephanie was talking, and Vince is all pissed off and whatnot, and then he decides, Shane is no longer my son. Triple H, you're my son now. Except I'm pretty sure Vince now thinks like his character was legitimately real and regrets that, knowing that Triple H is doing better than him in real life as a businessman in terms of product. And letting that go. And, yeah. Also, I noticed Stephanie's voice was I just remembered that Stephanie's voice was really different back then. Her voice was more Harley Quinn-esque that you would expect nowadays for Harley Quinn's voice actresses voicing her. Now it's more deeper and whatnot, more professional, but back then she was like full-on Harley Quinn, except there was no equivalent to Joker. I don't think they would have a Joker, but I don't think they would have paired Stephanie up with Bray Wyatt or Dean Ambrose. Yeah, anyways, so, yeah, and during the endgame portion of that match, Kane would go for a hot tag for Undertaker. Taker would beat the crap out of Triple H and Austin. However, Earl Hebner was down for a little bit and didn't notice the tag and tried to tell Undertaker, you're not in the match, you're not supposed to be in this match, you're not tagged in. And Taker's pissed off because, a face would do that, right? Remember the days when faces also acted like jerks? Yeah, I kind of miss those days. But yeah, anyways, afterwards, and Kane actually connects with a kick that I actually kind of like. Like, wow, I didn't see that coming because it's a big guy like that. Like, like that back then would probably be very shocking to see Kane move like that. Do a wrestling move like that. Nowadays, Braun Strowman tends to take everything, say, I did it first! Like the drop kick. Well, Luke Harper took it first with the suicide dive, and he's a 300-pounder guy. But, yeah, eventually Stephanie tries to get involved after Austin takes out Earl Hebner and The Undertaker. But, eventually Stephanie gets involved, Kane kicks her in the head with a big boot, and Vince McMahon runs down, I'm gonna avenge my daughter, and try to do something with a sledgehammer, and sure enough, Vince gets choked by Kane, and then Triple H strikes, then after Vince tosses the sledgehammer to Triple H launches two devastating strikes to Kane, and Austin and Taker are wrestling in the crowd, and the referee and Earl Hebner gets back in and makes the 3 count, and the Power Trip wins all the titles. And I always loved Heyman's line. Like, he was the commentator at the time because at the time, Jerry Lawler was gone because he was protesting the company after his wife was fired. I can't remember her name. I do know they got divorced years later, so, or that same year, I don't know. But yeah, yeah, it was crazy that he who has the gold has the power, and he who has the power has the gold, or something like that. But yeah, this was a fun match for me. This was just a fun match. To see this match go for 27 minutes, and it's not really a complaint for me, but I just really enjoyed this match. It wasn't like a masterpiece of wrestling. Like, yeah, but like, I just enjoyed it. It was just an enjoyable match for me. But yeah, I know some people will say, well, wait, why is Austin and Triple H teaming up? Like, didn't they try to kill each other for like, I don't know, 2 to 3 years? Well, yeah, but here was the difference. Austin, you see, okay, while it still technically doesn't make sense for Austin and Triple H to team up, I actually did understand Austin's reasoning for teaming up with Vince. But at the same time, however, that kind of still doesn't make sense. But at that point, the characters were so deep and whatnot with fans and so engrossed with that a lot of fans kind of ignored that major plot hole, and it's never brought up again. In fact, a lot of people were wondering. In fact, even the commentators were wondering what the hell is going on. Like, Jim Ross even pointed out when Triple H joined up with Austin at first, when it looked like Austin and Triple H were about to go to war in the steel cage, that Jim Ross says this, Triple H, he hates Austin, and whatnot. And it's like, so you acknowledge it, but you're not going to address it? Why? But yeah, Austin and Triple H, that's the one problem with the two-man power trip. They probably could have waited a little bit longer to do that, but considering that Austin's heel turn was very experimental and it was a risk they were going for that you don't see anymore, and it wouldn't have worked with, and at first they thought, well, let's pair him up with the guy he hates the most on TV. Let's go ahead and pair him up with Triple H. That he's like the second most hated wrestler he hates besides Vince McMahon in the storyline of the continuity of WWF. But yeah, like I said, if you take out the plot holes and whatnot, it was just an enjoyable match for me. And the crowd, man, remember back then the crowds were always electrifying. Like, even if you put the dumbest thing on there, like Mae Young giving birth to a hand. Yeah, that still happened, and I do find that stupid. Or, you know, Steve Blackman and Al Snow beating up a guy dressed up as a cheese. Yeah, people will pop for that because this was a crazy time back then. There were still so many hardcore fans. They were all passionate about wrestling and whatnot. Like, you could, like, even on the worst episodes of Nitro, you still got a very loud reaction when WCW was going under. But yeah, like, you don't get that energy anymore. You had to go to certain cities to get a reaction like that. And even then, WWE just says, fuck all of you! Fuck all of you! And the crowd just goes, why are we fans again? But yeah, this match, it was enjoyable for me. I enjoyed it for the most part. The story, while it had potential, it couldn't go anywhere after Triple H was injured. Like, after that, it would lead to the continuation of this feud ending at Judgment Day, where Triple H loses his Intercontinental title and Austin retains his world title. And I already covered Jericho and Benoit defeating the Power Trip in their final match together as the official Power Trip. They would team up one more time in 2002, but they weren't referenced as the Power Trip. It was just they were both faces and they had a common enemy mentality. But yeah, Triple H, Austin, the two-man Power Trip versus the Brothers of Destruction. Fun match. I'm not gonna say recommending it. It's just if you want a fun, enjoyable match, that's best you can go with. So this was Neo Reality Entertainment. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and donate to tune for more.